Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of the Lightworker's Guide to Healing Through Depression. And my co host will be here shortly. And this is episode 2, and we're going to be discussing just really easy tips of how to cope and get through those moments of just despair. You know, for any of you who have experienced depression, know what it's like to there's mornings where you just can't get out of bed, and just getting through the day just seems like agony, and everything just seems so heavy and dreadful. And so it could be just little things, those little things that can make all the difference to help get you through. And so let's see, here she is. All right. She's going through the portal right now. There she
Yeah.
is. Welcome.
My first ever live. I'm a little bit nervous.
You know what? We're just hanging out. It's just the two of us. We're just chatting, and just so happen there's a camera pointing at
We're on a
us.
virtual date.
Yeah, I love that. We're on a virtual date. Yeah. How are you feeling today, sweetie?
I'm good. I'm good. As you can tell, we've pretty much been exchanging conversation like all throughout the morning. So I'm definitely a morning person. I thrive off of like morning routines and all that
Hmm.
stuff. And so it really puts me in a good mood. So at the moment, I'm doing pretty good.
All right.
What about you? What about you?
I'm doing well too. Yeah, I had mate this morning, and so I'm just like like going a million miles per hour. But I'm feeling really good. It's a good morning. Good morning, Tiffany. Thanks for joining us. Um,
Hi,
but
Tiffany.
but I'm really excited for this conversation because I was reflecting back to those moments when I was couldn't get out of bed and when each day seemed like agony, and I wish that someone would have given me these tips in those moments.
Yeah.
So I'm just grateful to be able to pay it forward with this discussion.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm ready to hop into it if you are.
Yeah, let's do it. So I was just kind of giving a little short little intro. So today's
Hmm.
topic is practical self-care tips of how to get through those dark moments of despair. Like those moments where, it just seems like everything's falling apart. No matter what you do, it seems like it's like this dark cloud, like this stink that just won't go away. And sometimes it can be the simplest little things that can really shift you. And so we're going to be discussing it from offering tools from a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual perspective. So,
Yep.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I guess there's one thing I want to say. So the idea of today's topic or episode came about when we got together to brainstorm on, what we could share this month. And so that's how we came up with the idea of practical tips for managing depression with self-care activities, is because it's something that I've kind of been going through lately. And so I'm kind of still navigating through that myself. And, you have good days and bad days. And
Yeah.
especially with the change in the weather right now, I know that for me, it's not going away anytime soon. It's just a matter of like, riding through that depressive episode. And so, uh, this is how we came up with the idea of today's episode, is like some of the things that I've been working on or using that I found has been helping me work through it. And so, yeah, I guess that's how we came about, with the idea with today's episode or live session.
And if I could also add before we go into it, I personally, from my own experience with healing depression, I truly believe with all of my heart that in order to have sustainable balance mentally, it has to be addressed holistically. The physical component, the mental, the emotional, the spiritual, or it's just not sustainable. So I subscribe to that with all my heart. So yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And it's something that's been helping me too, because before I was into holistic health and wellness, I was only just focusing on the physical, and
Yeah.
it did help, but when I realized that there was much more that can be done to improve my state of well-being mentally,
Mhm.
um, especially with depression, like it helped so much.
Well, let's get into it then.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
So we have here, we wanted to start off with the mental aspect of tips of how to deal with as far as self-care tips. And the first thing we have is slowing down. Or at least like being conscientious of your perception of
Hmm.
slowing down. Because oftentimes, especially those who are ambitious, entrepreneurs, we often think that, oh, when we slow down, and I know I can definitely, can attest to this, that when you start to slow down and rest, there's a fear that that means that you're gonna go back into the depths of depression, or that you're
Hmm.
having some kind of a relapse, but it's important that we have that balance. Like if you feel like you need to rest, if you need to take a nap, if you need to sleep in a little bit longer, you can, then it's healthy to allow yourself to have that.
Yeah, definitely for sure. Because I know that for me, because I'm like an all or nothing kind of gal. So whenever I pursue something, I go in with 100% at like 100 miles per hour, and usually
Hmm.
that leads me to burnout. And
Yeah.
every time I'm on the brink of burnout, the other side of burnout is when depression comes through. And so lately when I've been like trying to slow down, it's when you're slowing down, it's easier to say than actually do, because when you slow down, there's also the feelings of guilt that comes
Yeah.
with it, because
Hmm.
especially with the social conditioning of our hustle culture today, where it's like you always got to be on that grind.
Yeah.
And so like even now when I'm still slowing down, I find myself feeling guilty, because there's that feeling of, that fear of falling behind, or that fear of not being able to keep up to other people's pace, especially with the mastermind group that we are in.
Hmm.
And I really had to sit down and honor myself with where I'm at. And that's, like I said, it's easier to say than actually do. But that's where having like a shift in mindset really comes into play, and understanding that when you are honoring yourself with where you are at, and being okay with slowing down, that in and of itself is an act of self-care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then that also leads into the, healthy comparison versus unhealthy comparison, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and so as far as what we mean by that is, a healthy comparison is, well, unhealthy comparison is when, again, like when you're like, oh, well, look how, that person's grinding, that person's going at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I should be keeping up with that person. And then when you start comparing yourself in that way, then you perpetuate the anxiety that you're feeling, because we're all different. We all have different, energetic capacities. We all, have different types of, creative processes. So when we compare ourselves to other people, then we're stifling our true nature, our true expression, and then it's like you're kicking yourself while you're down.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And what I've been trying to learn now is whenever I do slow down, then I use that time of slowing down as an opportunity for self-reflection.
Yeah.
And that's where we talk about, healthy comparison and unhealthy comparison. Because when you find yourself in the headspace where you are comparing yourself to other people, that's where it can become like a negative um, um, pattern or behavior to get into. Hi,
Hmm.
Balhan. That's my friend Balhan.
Oh, good morning.
But anyway, so what I found has been helping me is, instead of comparing myself to, how my peers are doing, I compare myself to where I was when I first
Yeah.
began.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes when I do slow down, I fall into the temptation of wanting to quit. And so that's where engaging in the act of like reflection has been really helpful for me. For example, is I started my business in July. I would say that's when I truly made the decision to start.
Hmm.
And at that time when I started, I was starting at like 0.0. And from that time up until now, I've feel like I've seen so much growth and change within myself, that I didn't even realize, because sometimes when you are constantly on the grind and on the go, you don't have time,
Yeah,
or you don't really make that time to
yeah,
stop and
yeah.
reflect on how far you've gone along your journey. So that's what I've been doing lately, and I found that like just doing that has brought a sense of like, I don't know how to describe it, but a sense of accomplishment within myself and being
Hmm.
okay with how far I've come. And that's been really helpful with helping me navigate through, this depressive episode that I've been experiencing lately.
Yeah, because it gives you inspiration to know, like, okay, things seem really, dreary right now. Like, it seems impossible to get through this. But if I can get through what I went through a couple months ago, I can absolutely get through it this time around, you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, I think about that too for myself, like you, I started in June, that's when I really like kind of officially announced that I was, starting to coach. And when I look at like where I was to where I'm at now, it's like, who was I then? I was a completely different person then. I went from
Yeah.
like being concerned if I'm going to be successful because I was in a mental hospital last year to doing videos and doing collaborations and like, working as a coach full time. So, yeah, there is something to be said about giving yourself that opportunity to slow down and to reflect. And I also want to add that when you allow yourself to slow down and reflect, that's also when you get your downloads. You know,
Oh
like
yeah, definitely.
like for me, like whenever like I take my baths, then that's when I get the inspiration for content, or like I'll write songs or like just all everything seems to come together when I give myself that permission to just take a break, So it's
I
part
would
of that
say that's definitely
balance.
what happened to me on my recent video, the video that I uploaded today, where like, I had a shift in perspective, and that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't slowed down.
Yeah.
And another thing I do want to add is, when it comes to slowing down and honoring yourself with where you're at, like a huge thing that has helped me mentally is paying attention to your wins and acknowledging that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so, like, even just having a shift in perspective, or um, realizing how far you've come, and really indulging in that feeling of accomplishment is a win.
It's
And
huge.
just yeah, it's a win. And
Yeah.
so the more that you can focus on small wins like that, that has also been a huge way where I'm able to cope with it, like on a mental aspect.
Hmm. Good morning, Leila. Thanks for joining us, sweetie.
Good morning.
I have a quote that I wanted to read as far as healthy comparison. And
Oh, yes.
this is from Osho Zen. And so this is what it has to say. So this is based on the Osho tarot deck. And what I love about this particular deck is that it's not like your traditional deck. It has more Buddhist philosophy undertones to it. So this is what it has to
Mhm.
say about comparison. So whoever told you that the bamboo is more beautiful than the oak, or the oak more valuable than the bamboo? Do you think the oak wishes it had a hollow trunk like this bamboo? Does the bamboo feel jealous of the oak because it is bigger and its leaves change color in the fall? The very idea of the two trees comparing themselves to each other seems ridiculous, but we humans seem to find this habit very hard to break. Let's face it, there is always going to be somebody who is more beautiful, more talented, stronger, more intelligent, or apparently happier than you are. And conversely, there will always be those who are less than you in all these ways. The way to find out who you are is not by comparing yourself with others, but by looking to see whether you are fulfilling your own potential in the best way you know how.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that sums it up really well. Yeah. So it's like,
That
it's just,
resonated a lot.
what's that? Say it again.
I said that resonated a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely ties it up really well, So Again, and that's where, we'll get into this with spiritual aspect as far as like meditation. Like the more that we can just focus on our own inner world and celebrate our wins, do little things to take care of ourselves, that's what's going to keep us in that sustainable, happy place.
Definitely, yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, let's see here.
So I think
Let's
that's
see.
all that we have for like self-care tips mentally. I guess we can
Yeah.
move on to how to manage yourself like emotionally. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
can I take the lead with this one?
You want to take the lead with this one, you said?
Yeah.
Go for it.
So when it comes to this is what I've been learning so far.
Hmm.
When it comes to taking on the holistic approach to depression in regards to your emotions,
Hmm.
um, I feel like when we all experience depression, not only are when we are in that state, we are experiencing the thoughts that come with it and the emotions that come with it, and the thoughts and the emotions that comes with experiencing depression. It varies from person to person.
Hmm.
But like I said, what I've been noticing with myself lately is when I'm going through that, what's been coming up a lot for me is like, oh, you're behind. You're not doing enough. You need to keep up with all this. You shouldn't be slowing down. You're lazy. All these thoughts. And when I experience these thoughts, I experience the emotions that accompany it and the emotions of the I would say the most reoccurring emotion that has been accompanying these thoughts is guilt. And what I've been learning so far, especially when you're like, trying to sit with your emotions, that's by doing that and being okay with that feeling of guilt
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
is a way that has helped me release that, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
I say this a lot, but when it comes to navigating through your emotions and learning to increase your emotional intelligence, the only way out of the pain and discomfort is in
It's
it.
through it. Yeah.
And so that's what's been
Yeah.
helping me release the emotions is learning to be aware of it and then
Hmm.
learning to sit with it. And I read this, or I was listening to this the other day, that when you're experiencing emotions, whether or not it's good or bad, they on average typically last around 90 seconds.
Oh, interesting.
So if you can say to
Yeah.
yourself that you can
Yeah.
sit with this for 90 seconds
Yeah.
and really let the energy of the emotion move through you and flow through you and ride that wave, you'll
Hmm.
find that it'll slowly dissipate and subside.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's how I've been releasing, the emotions that comes with, the depression that I experience.
Can I add on to that?
Yeah, definitely.
So when you look at the word emotion, it's energy in motion, right? So all that emotions are, they're just sensations, they're just energy in our body. And it's our belief system that gives them either a negative or a positive charge. So
Yeah.
I didn't make that connection that it only lasts in your body for 90 seconds. So it goes to show that it's an energy that gets created, but if we just like allow ourselves to settle into it, like a difficult yoga pose is the analogy I like to make. Once you can settle into it, then it dissipates. But if you give it a story, then it starts to fester, and then it creates this whole dramatic story in your head, and that's what perpetuates the stress,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Because um your thoughts precedes your emotions, right? I
Yeah.
was listening to this on a podcast, but you have your beliefs, and your
Mhm.
beliefs comes from the experiences that you have gone through in your life that trigger
Mhm.
that belief. And
Mhm.
then the belief is what activates an emotions. And if you think about emotions, um it's a cascade of chemicals in your body that
Yeah.
as physical sensations, and the
Yeah.
physical sensations is your emotions, and then
Mhm.
you have that emotion, and then the emotion is what generates a behavior.
The action. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the action. And so I think that where a lot of us gets caught up is in the emotions and how to deal with that. You know what I mean? Because when it comes to experiencing emotions, is I think there's three ways where we can work through it. We either when we distract ourselves from it or run from it. So it's like
Yeah.
fight, flight, or freeze. So we either
Yeah.
run from it, and we run
Mhm.
from it through like substances. I
Mhm.
have like a THC pen that all the
Mhm.
millennials and kids these days are hitting. I find myself hitting that a lot, or napping or scrolling
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
That kind of behavior, or engaging in behaviors where you're distracting yourself from emotions like that, that's one way where we cope with it. Another way where we cope with it is I'm trying to think. Do you understand where I'm trying to go with
No, I
this?
totally do. We numb it. Yeah, numb it out, whether it's through
Oh yeah, we numb it
movies,
out.
food, even relationships, work, that's a workaholism comes into play. So it's just like doing everything in the world except for, being with the emotion.
Sitting with it for 90 seconds.
Let's take a little
But
moment here. We got some folks here that are resonating with it. Yeah, like I eat as a distraction. Yep, I
yeah,
resonate with that.
do that too. I do that too.
Lady
That
Lala,
sugar hits
identify
really good.
that sugar. Yeah, and again, and then the sugar, that's a whole conversation within itself because that's like the dopamine, fix that we're getting off of that. So
Yeah,
yeah, identify, feel it, release. Yes, release it. Yes, Lady Lala. Yes, yes,
absolutely.
yes. Um, yes, and so do you was there anything else you wanted to say? Because this is a good segue to the next point that we have.
No, I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, and so to go deeper into feeling your emotions is giving your emotions a voice. That's
Yes.
something that we can do. So like one simple technique that I personally like to use is it's journaling, but it's not like journaling like how you normally journal. It's journaling as if you're writing a dialogue. So the emotion that you feel in your body acts as if it's its own little entity, like it's a part of you, because we all have various parts. That's a whole nother discussion. But so for an example, say, okay, it is depression, right? So you get your journal and you write like your name with a colon, and you can say, hey, depression, is there anything that you need to tell me? And you allow your logical mind to get out of the way, and whatever comes to heart, write that down. So it's like you're having a conversation with your depression to allow it to express itself. So that's like another way that you could, disperse or dissipate the energy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just a way of honoring your emotions.
Hmm. Yeah. Good morning, everyone else who's joining in. Let's see here. I
So I
think
think we've covered all of that for emotions. Oh, I think this is an important one, and it's so simple, but we all we don't practice it as often, but just allowing yourself to cry.
mm, hmm
Well, Balhan said, how do you guys freely journal? I always find myself censoring my own thoughts and can't express myself.
hmm Yeah, so what I would suggest is, before you start journaling, just to ground yourself, like take a couple of deep breaths for like maybe 5 minutes or so. And again, like just trust the process. Just get your logical mind out of the way. You can even do heart coherence. That's something else that we're going to talk about, where you simply put your hand on your heart and just breathe for like, again, 3 to 5 minutes, and you bring that heady energy into your heart space. And while you're doing that, think of one thing that brings you joy, whether it was like your first kiss or the first time that you bought a new car, something that brought you a lot of joy, because your brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's a memory. So when you bring that sensation to your heart, it opens you up and it gets you out of your head. So I recommend doing that for a few minutes and then just journal. And again, just trust whatever comes up, no matter how wild it might seem, that's what's coming up, and trust it. So,
Yeah. And what's coming up
yeah.
for me in response to that, Balhan, is this is something that I still struggle with, but it's something that I'm still learning to navigate through. But oftentimes the reason why I find myself resisting to write out these thoughts is because there's a part of me that identifies with that. I don't know if that makes sense. Because when you think about the mind, like it's just, all the ego and the fears that you have, it's just your thoughts, and your thoughts have nothing to do with who you are. It's just the inner workings of your mind at play. And so sometimes for me, even like the most wildest or like irrational thoughts that come up, I'm afraid to write it out on paper, because in a way, by me writing out on paper, that kind of serves as me confronting my thoughts. Because the thoughts that you have, you like I said, it's easier, it's challenging to detach yourself from your thoughts, because a lot of times, like especially if we've been the same thoughts have been circulating our mind for so long, like the more that it happens, the more that we believe in it, and the more that we believe in it, the more that we associate it as part of our identity, and that's not the case. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just learning to detach yourself and understanding that your thoughts have nothing to do with who you are, or it's not part of your identity. It's just your thoughts, and that's it.
But did that help?
Yeah, did that help, Balhan? I don't know if that made sense.
Okay. Beautiful. Yes. And also Bohan, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Bohan?
Balhan.
Bohan? Sorry, my
No,
phonetics
it's
is
okay.
awful. I highly recommend to look into Dr. Joe Dispenza. Dr. Joe Dispenza, he wrote a book called, if you just look it up on YouTube, and Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And he's incredible. This is like his niche, which is about as far as like the habits, like our personality are based on the habits, right? And so like when we oftentimes we're locked into focusing on who we are from the past as opposed to projecting who we want to be in the future. And then there's a concept called neuroplasticity, meaning that by thought alone, you can literally shift your neural pathways in your brain. But it's like a muscle. You got to exercise it. And that's where like the affirmations come into play, the meditations come into play. So I would highly recommend to listen to some of his lectures, and it would really help to help you shift your perception around the thoughts that are circulating in your unconscious mind. Was that clear?
It's clear to me.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right.
All right, so
Well,
let's move on
should we
to,
move on? Okay. Now we're in
yeah.
the spiritual components, and so yeah. Do you want to take the lead on this?
Um, let's see. So we have energy clearing, binary beat, and meditation, which is
Hmm.
heart coherence. So this is something that I'm still learning to integrate into my recovery and healing and depression. So I feel like this might be more of your area of
Yeah.
expertise or forte, and something that I
Sure.
can learn from you as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. So as far as energy clearing, we didn't have this in our notes, but I just feel called to bring this up in the conversation. So there's something called chakras. And chakras are energetic wheels along our body. It means wheel in Sanskrit. And so we have many of them, but there's seven major ones that start from the crown of our head. There's one in our third eye, our throat, our heart, our solar plexus, which is our willpower, our self-esteem. The heart chakra right below the belly button is where we manifest. That's our reproductive and creative area. Then we have the root chakra, and that's what keeps us grounded. And so since they spin like a wheel in a clockwise motion, whenever we're stressed or dealing with, mood imbalances, that means that they close up. So one way that you can help to create, and it's really easy, you can imagine like the colors of them, you can imagine them spinning. I'll just share with the colors really quickly, but you can always look this up. But like it's white because the crown chakra has all the colors of the rainbow. Then you have indigo color for the third eye. You have blue for the throat, green for the heart, yellow for the solar plexus, orange for the heart chakra, and red for the root. And so you can just simply imagine these colors just vibrating in all these different aspects of your body. So that's one way that you could stimulate yourself energetically. And then another technique, which I learned from Lady Lala, I'm not sure if she's still in the chat room, but when we're interfacing with people, especially when we're online on social media, or even just when you're interfacing with people in person, you're taking in those people's energy, like, because we're energetic beings, whether you believe it or not, we are energetic beings. So one thing you can do is at the end of the day, imagine all those interactions you have with the people, even whether it's online or in person, and imagine that you're drawing your energy back into your energetic field. So that's one way that you can keep yourself from depleting yourself. Another spiritual way to balance is binaural beats. And so what binaural beats is, music has certain frequencies that stimulate various aspects of our psyche. Like there's some that helps for depression, for anxiety, that helps you sleep, that helps you with addiction. And there are tons of them on YouTube that you can listen to. And it's important that you listen to them with headphones. And that's a way that you can energetically create balance in the body. And then I already spoke of heart coherence. So those are three really easy tips that you can implement.
Killing it with that delivery on how to heal spiritually. That was good.
Yeah, there's any questions in the chat regarding the spiritual aspect?
Give it some time.
Give it some time, right?
But yeah, meditation for me, I find helps to even just, there's many different types of meditations, but I guess meditation is spiritual and mental at the same time.
Yeah.
But when I go to meditate and I just meditate to, sit with the emotion, I feel in a sense that's also spiritual as well, because for me, anytime there's healing that takes place, that's a spiritual experience to me. So that's my perspective on that.
And when it comes to meditation, I feel like oftentimes, because again, we're talking about in the depths, in those moments where you wake up and you're so depressed that the thought of doing a half an hour meditation just seems like whatever, like impossible. And like when it comes to meditation, it could be 3 minutes. It could be 3 minutes. It could be 5 minutes, and it could be where you can listen to a guided meditation, or you can just simply focus on your breathing for 3 to 5 minutes. It could be very, very, very simple. So I just wanted to make sure that we were remembering like what these tips are for,
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think there's any questions. With that being said, how about we move on to the last way, which is physical things that you can do or self-care acts that you can do to help manage depression. The first one we have, it's so simple, but just resting.
Yeah.
Resting is in a way out giving yourself and giving your body, the energy it needs to recharge. It's kind of like when you use your phone, when you have your phone, you're using it throughout the day, you're depleting its battery and juice and fuel. It's the same thing for your body. So you got to give it time to recharge by resting. And then for me, whenever I'm feeling sad, I like to shower with the lights off and with music on that like really resonates with how I feel. And I imagine myself like, even if I'm like crying in the shower with music on, I imagine myself washing my emotions away with the water, and in a way that's like in a way of cleansing myself. And that's something that I find has been helpful for me. And just like I said, there's different degrees of depression, and so when you're in a severe state of depression, it's so hard to like just even get out of bed. And so finding the strength and energy to get myself up to take a shower, that's like a win. And I found that just doing that has been helpful. So yeah,
showers are everything. Have been everything for me when I'm in those dark moments, because it just, the water just feels like it's purifying, and then like you're getting the heat, so it's relaxing your muscles, and I love the idea of also taking showers in the dark too. It's always very, very, it's hydrotherapy when you think about it. I mean, with the steam and So showers, definitely. And another one that's really simple, drinking water. It can be just that simple, the rule of thumb is if you take your weight and divide it by 2, that's the amount of ounces to drink minimum a day. So if you can like get yourself to at least drink the minimum amount of ounces a day, then it really does make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's replenishing. And
Yeah.
you'll feel it in your body too, especially if, you know, you're sensitive to many things. And so, water can feel really replenishing sometimes.
And also, water helps to alkalize the body because when the body is more acidic, that's when it affects our moods and when we're more prone to diseases. So we want to keep our bodies alkalized. So like water and another thing too you can do is like add either a key lime or lemon, fresh squeezed lemon in your water to even make it even more alkalizing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then that brings us to food, right?
I feel like this one is so important, because food in and of itself already has like therapeutic effects. And what I've learned from my holistic nutrition certification is that, you know, oftentimes the foods that you eat can really affect your mental state. And depending on your genes and your genetics, um, there are certain foods like processed foods that causes inflammation in the
Hmm.
brain, because
Hmm.
your gut and your brain are like deeply interconnected via
Yeah.
the biggest nerve. And
Hmm.
so when it comes to depression, like the biggest um, neurotransmitter or chemical that comes into play is serotonin. And
Yeah.
I think it's like 90 or 95% of your serotonin is produced in the gut. And for your body to produce that chemical, it gets that fuel from the foods that you eat. And so
Hmm.
when it comes to depression, it's so important to nourish your body so that you are also nourishing your mind at the same time. And that is
Hmm.
kind of way it's a good it's a good way to supplement, you know, medication, because food is already medicine in and of itself. And this one tip that I usually give people is when it comes to figuring out what types of foods to eat. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be anything like grand or fancy, but even just fruits. When you eat colors of food, the same colors of your chakras, that has been helpful for me as well. Like strawberries, blueberries, kiwis, watermelon. I love watermelon with tahini. Like I eat that all the time. But yeah, just like simple things like that can really boost your mood.
And I also subscribe to dark green leafy vegetables. I feel like are also a powerful medicine, for mood boosting. So like kale and chard and dandelion and collard greens. And another quick fix, like if you don't have a juicer or if you don't have time to make a salad, chlorophyll is really powerful. You can get liquid chlorophyll and just add that to your water, and what chlorophyll is, it's like the green pigment that's in the vegetables. Good morning, Tish. Tish, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so
Thanks
the
for
chlor.
joining us.
So the chlorophyll is it's like the green pigment out of the green plants, and so you can get it in liquid form and just put a few drops in your water, and that also it detoxifies the blood, so that also helps to keep you from craving like sugar and processed foods.
Yeah, food is so important. It's something that we overlook, but yeah, like, and also like I said, what I've learned is like certain foods that you eat, um I think it's important to avoid certain foods, like
Hmm.
especially chicken, because chicken, I don't remember the name. Oh, it contains a chemical compound called arachidonic acid. And that
Hmm.
compound is, like I said, is what causes inflammation in the brain, and sometimes it can even contribute to suicidal thoughts.
Oh,
And that,
wow.
yeah, that's something that I learned in my course that really blew
Wow.
my mind. And
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, after cutting back on that, like I've noticed a huge change in, you know, the thoughts that I have when I'm going through it.
Hmm. Yeah, and and I think inflammation is something that we should probably talk a little bit more about because, that's really the cause of all, pretty much all diseases in the body, and like, dairy, I hate to say it, people, but dairy causes inflammation. Meat causes inflammation, so just
Uh,
something to
all
be
the good things.
all the good things. Yeah, yeah. And then when it comes to sugar, Melissa, I'm curious if you know about this, but when you look at the chemical component of sugar, it's similar to heroin and cocaine, which
Oh
is what
yeah,
makes it so
definitely.
addictive.
Food has addictive properties. It's like a drug. It's like you get that hit of dopamine like every time you eat it. Because even now, like sometimes when I'm craving sugar, it's like, or I'm craving junk food, take a bite and like it'll hit so good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, but then you crash. That's no fun.
Um, but yeah, I guess that's it. That's all that I have to say in regards to food. And then I also added one more thing, and especially for me, when it comes to when I'm feeling low, I allow myself to have lazy days, and
Mhm.
I like to sometimes like go to the park and just lay down and do nothing and just having a lazy day in the sun, because just having the vitamin D from the sun in a way, it's
Uh,
like
yeah.
nourishing your body, which is so important. Vitamin D is so important for you when it comes
Hmm.
to depression.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that I add on there, like a physical thing or self-care act that you can do to
Hmm.
help manage the depression.
Um, we also had really quickly, kind of going back to the food, we did have like about four different quick fix like food items that you guys can eat. So should I go into that right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go
Okay. All
for it.
right. So just really easy. So avocado on toast. And again, like we're referring to those moments where things are just so freaking heavy that even making a meal seems impossible, but you want to be able
Hmm.
to give yourself some kind of a substance to get through, right? So we got avocado on toast, we got almond butter on toast, we got avocado and chopped tomatoes, just like a little salad. Just chop up some avocado, chop up some salad, put a little salt. I'm sorry, chop up avocados on tomatoes, put a little salt on it, and you got yourself, a nice little meal. Miso soup is amazing because it's so easy. It comes in a paste. All you have to
Yeah.
do is boil water, put a spoon of it in there, and you have yourself, some miso soup.
Just eat a miso soup with rice.
Ooh, so cook the rice and just add the paste on top of the hot rice.
Yeah, I usually just maybe it's just like an Asian thing, but like, I eat a lot of soups with rice, so just miso soup with rice. Throw a little bit of sriracha in there. That's good. That's
Mm,
a good meal
hmm.
right there.
That sounds like a good meal. And plus with the rice, it makes it more hearty, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, miso. Miso's awesome for everything. And then burritos. Burritos are really easy to do,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, so those are the quick little and I'll write all this in when we repost it, the replay, I'll write this little list down for you guys. So that completes our little sections as far as the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and emotional. And so we always in our sessions or episodes with a tool that you can implement and also with a few affirmations. So,
Yeah.
do you want to go into the affirmations?
Yeah, so these are the affirmations that I has found has worked for me. And this is also like a mental way that you can use to it kind of serves as like a self-care. I can't even talk right now. But yeah, affirmations are a good way mentally to help. Hey, Rogelio, joining
What up,
us.
Doc Warrior?
But yeah, so when you find yourself in a moment of darkness, weakness, whatever, it's so important to stay on top of yourself mentally. And when you catch yourself um, experiencing negative thoughts or unpleasant emotions, there's three things that I found has worked for me, and you kind of have to say it to yourself, because when you're saying it to yourself, you're showing up for yourself compassionately.
Yeah,
And so the first one is you are strong in your weakness.
I love that. I love that. Oh.
Yeah, so you are strong in your weakness. Um, Another one, which has been the thing that has been helping me, is you are okay where you are right now. So that's the second one. And then the last one is you are valued even when you're not productive.
I want to say something about that, when it comes to how to use affirmations, because it's unrealistic to go from you wake up, you feel like shit, to say an affirmation, oh, life is blissful. You know what I mean? It's unrealistic. So what I feel like what these affirmations that you're suggesting, it's neutralizing it. You want to go from a low vibrational place to neutralizing it. And then once you feel more stable, then you can go up to the more high vibrational affirmations.
Yeah.
So I think that's just really important to keep in mind because it makes it realistic. Like if you are overweight, instead of saying, oh, I have this amazing body, I have a body. That neutralizes the negative charge around how you feel about yourself,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
No, yeah, I love those. And also, if I could, one last thing I'd like to add, what's worked for me as far as affirmations, because, Melissa, you're right, as far as like hearing your own self say it, because it gives yourself compassion. What's worked for me is to record myself in my phone saying the affirmations. So when I get up in the morning, I just put my headphones on and then I just push play and I'm ready to go. And you can just have it like for those states of emergencies, for those mornings where, it's just, you can't get out of bed, you're feeling dreadful. You can just put your headphones on, hear yourself say those affirmations, and that could be a good little booster.
Yeah. So I guess this is something that just came up. So when it comes to affirmations, the way that I see it is like it's the things that you say to yourself. And let's say like you are in a moment of darkness or sadness, I kind of see it as like that's a part of, I don't know how to describe it, but it's kind of like, have you ever seen like a child in distress and they're sad and you want to comfort them and you say, oh, we love you, or you're okay, you're not a failure. And so you're kind of like showing compassion and showing up for that part or that child. In a way, I kind of do that with myself, where it's like when I'm feeling that, it's like I don't know how to describe it, but like, does that make sense? It's hard for
Yeah,
me to
it's like
describe.
you're being your own inner loving parent, because a lot
Yeah.
of our wounds is from our wounded inner child, right? And so now that we're adults, now we have the responsibility to be an inner loving parent to ourselves. We can be the inner critical parent where we talk shit about ourselves, or we can be the compassionate, patient, inner loving parent for our wounded self.
Yeah, so you're kind of like in a way being there for yourself by
Yeah.
using affirmations and saying that to yourself.
Hmm. Yeah.
You treat it, great way to say, great way to approach it. You treat yourself like a loving parent. Yeah, I resonate with that a lot.
Yeah, and thank you all too for joining. It seems like it's resonating with some of y'all, so that's also always a great feeling. Do you have anything else to say about the affirmations?
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, all right, cool. So we got those affirmations again. We'll list them in the comment. And the last tool that we want to offer you guys is sound healing. So I have this pre-recorded binaural track that's tuned to 528, which is called the love frequency. And so with this love frequency, with this vibration, it balances the moods. It calms the nervous system. It's even known to restore, repair damaged DNA, which I think is completely like insane. So I'm gonna post that in the comment. I'm actually gonna post it right now, so you guys will have it. And it's about an 18-minute track. So, you can listen to it first thing in the morning, anytime. Make sure you have some headphones so you can really, so you sonically, you can get the full experience. So,
This is a random question that I have. So, is this something that you can listen to as like white background noise, or no? Or is this something that
you
you have
could,
to listen to and be
yeah,
very present?
you could, but this particular one, because it's got like ocean sounds and rain, I wouldn't recommend this one, but there are binaural tracks that you can absolutely listen to while working. Because if you go to YouTube, you can even type in, like that's what I do when I work, binaural music for work, a binaural music for studying.
Hmm.
So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Do you see the link? Because I put it up, but I don't see
Yeah,
it.
I see it. I see it.
Okay, all
Sound
right,
cloud.
cool. All right, cool. Um, well, that completes. Unless, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Is there anything else that anybody want to say or any questions before we sign out?
Once again, thank you all for the love and support and hanging out with us.
I guess not.
No? Okay. All right. Cool.
But yeah, I guess before we sign out, thank you everyone for joining us for today's live session. This is my first time going live, so I'm a little bit nervous. So thank you for Misty for, leading the way. Oh, Rogelio says, how often do you say your affirmations?
For me, at least once a day. I mean, I was going hardcore and doing it like 3 times a day, but now at least like first thing in the morning, it's part of my morning practice.
I would say for me, I do it whenever I feel like is the right moment, and that's like a very like in the gray area. But for me, my cues for doing it is when I am in dark or low moments. Does that make sense? So like I'll experience that emotion, and then once I feel like I've let it go, then I follow it with affirmation like, you are strong in your weakness, you are okay where you are now, and really resonating with that and letting that thought, marinate in my mind. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, I guess that's it. So we'll just close out.
Into
To really like tune into.
And that's when you need it the most, right? Is in those
Yeah,
moments.
definitely. Intuition in a way is kind of like, it's hard to describe, but it's like a meter that you need to like tune into, like when you're like trying to tune into like a certain frequency on the radio, it's like you have to like tweak it to a certain way. And it's kind of like that with your intuitions, like tweaking and learning and to tune into that frequency. At least that's how I see it. I guess we're done.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know how
feel
to
complete
close
as
the
well.
line, so I'm like
Well, it's fine. No,
awkward.
yeah. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I know. I'm still getting used to this whole life thing too. Well, look, Melissa, thank you for sitting down with me and doing this collaboration, and I look forward to our next one next month.
Yes, absolutely. So for
Yes.
those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is a monthly thing that Misty and I do every month. And so this is something that we're going to go live, like I just said the same thing, every month. And so if this is something that you resonate with from today's session, definitely stay tuned for more.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you all again for joining us and just sending so much love and support. Doing these lives is nerve-wracking. It's really not my forte. But it's just such a pleasure to be able to share valuable information, and it's always feels good when people resonate with it. So thank you. Thank you, Tish. Tisho. And yeah, Dark Warrior, always so much love to you, brother. Thank you for your support. And yeah, sending you all so much love and so much light into your day.
All
All
right.
right.
Goodbye, everybody.
Okay.
Take
All right.
care.